well, let's call the Fire District Board meeting of January 20th to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Aldrich?
Here.
Beckman?
Here.
Fox?
Here.
Verplank?
Here.
Felt?
Here.
Pullen?
Here.
And Miller. I'm sorry. So used to saying Meridian, I'm sorry.
All right, so, would you please all silence your cell phones? Try not to text during the meeting. Could we have an approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda that stands.
Support.
And supported, the agenda stands. Could we have approval of minutes of the December 16th meeting?
Move to approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2019 meeting.
I'll support. We have a motion by Fox and support by Aldrich. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Minutes are approved unanimously. On to public comment. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anybody else there? All right.
Dan.
Moving on. We have a special guest speaker tonight, the audit review, Dan Veldhuizen of Siegfried, Kansas.
Special guest speaker, I appreciate that.
Yes, you are very special.
Very
After all these years.
Yeah, it has been about 20 years.
Yeah.
For
You're
those
still
of you
special.
Well, thanks. My name is Dan Veldhuizen, as you said. I've been working with the Fire District for more than 20 years now, and have always appreciated the opportunity to come and talk to all of you. It tells us that the audit is important to you. Enjoy working with all of you. Everybody at the Fire District that I've worked with, the chief especially, Peter, does a very nice job for you. That they all have helped us in a very good way. You'd be surprised not everybody wants to help the auditors everywhere we go. So it's not always something we experience, but we appreciate the relationship and we appreciate the people that you have here. What I'd like to do is be fairly brief and talk about 2 key things that I have in the past. Those are auditor communications, and then make a few comments about your financial condition. If you have your financial statements in front of you, I always like to look at the Independent Auditor's Report, which is the page immediately after the table of contents. That's our report, and what you hired us to do to give an opinion on the financial statements. There's a couple key concepts related to the Auditor's Report. They are, first of all, responsibility. That report spells out who's responsible for what. It's management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements and for the internal control over the transactions. Even though we prepare the financial statements for you, it's ultimately management's responsibility. Under auditor's responsibility, you'll see it's our responsibility to express opinions on the financial statements, whether everything's in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And we've given that opinion on the second page, where we say that these financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. This is known as an unmodified opinion now. It's a fairly new term. But the thing that you should know is that too often I hear in the media that the auditor issued an unmodified opinion, so everything's fine. Well, I will tell you that of the 2,000 governmental units in the state, probably every single one will read like this word for word. And that's because auditors will continue to ask you to make corrections until we can give that opinion. So what you really need to know here, and back at your other governmental units that you represent, is how many corrections did the auditor have to make to enable them to give that opinion. And in your case, and in the case of the 3 communities that you represent, there are relatively few adjustments, I would say. We addressed that in the separate letter, not in the bound document. I don't know if you have that in front of you or not, but there's another letter on our letterhead that if you don't have it, you don't need to look at that word for word.
Yeah.
would be useful to take a look at this because it often ends up being one of the, I don't know, controversial or more interesting to the board members. The report we just looked at gives an opinion on whether the financial statements are presented fairly. This one talks about any kind of internal control issues that we might have come across. So fairly recently, auditors are required to inform you in writing about any material weaknesses or control deficiencies in your financial statements. So I won't go through this one word for word, but if you go to the third page of that document, we define things like deficiencies in internal controls and material weaknesses, which are terrible sounding terms that I didn't make up, so don't blame me, but we say that the fire district has a material weakness in the fact that we helped you make material audit adjustments. And we list those down below. You can see the bullet points there. And the truth is there's only really 2 or 3. Many governments I work with, there might be 20. So you have very few. The first one has to do with a unique situation related to grant revenue that we recognize or defer in a certain period, and we help Peter with that. And we also help you record changes in your net pension liability that's new in the last 5 years. And as Peter knows as well as I do, I don't work with a single government whose accountants would be able to make those adjustments because it's very specialized and complicated. It's hard for us even to, we're finally getting a good grasp of it after a few years now. So one unique adjustment and one challenging one. So I would say that you have, it's reported as a material weakness, but I think it's unfair for governments like yours to be expected to give the auditors perfect financial statements. I think it's an unfair expectation of Peter, or for that matter, any government in West Michigan. So just wanted you to know about those concepts. The next topic I'd like to address is the financial condition. You can look at that starting on page 11. Page 11 is the balance sheet for the fire district. Balance sheet shows the fundamental accounting equation. Total assets less liabilities equal equity. You have about $900,000 in total assets. Less liabilities equals your equity or fund balance. It's $782,000 approximately, if you can see that on page 11. Board members' primary question to me is often, what's a good fund balance number? And that's hard for me to address as the auditor. That's really up to you to know how much fund balance you should have. But we often say that for emergency purposes, you'd want to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenditure set aside, which is what fund balance represents. You're at 62% of your current year's expenditures, so you're above that threshold, but certainly not excessive in any way at all. Many governments are at 100%, but that really varies, but I think you're in a very healthy position at 62%. Page 12, just to go on with the financial statements, is what we call an activity statement or a statement of revenues and expenditures. That shows the activity for the year. Total revenues of $1,362,000. Most of that is property taxes. Close to $1 million in public safety costs. This year was a little bit higher with capital outlay. That's going to vary from year to year. And there you can see the total expenditures of $1,259,000. Fund balance actually increased by $102,000. If you're running a small business, you want to see an increase there, but that's not necessarily a good or bad thing at a government because you don't want to be sitting on a fund balance that's too high. One other thing related to finances is the pension plan. So I'd like to direct your attention to page 24. Page 24, again, relates to your employee's defined benefit pension plan. That's what I referred to earlier when we had to make some adjustments to that. But this is kind of a nice summary of that plan. I've learned over time that the average person can handle about 6 numbers on a piece of paper, so there's too many on this page. But the column to the left is the activity for this year. If you go to towards the middle of the page, the bottom, the liability is about $139,000. That's increased since last year, and you're 72% funded. the funding percentage went down, the liability went up because MERS actually lost money. You can see there was a loss of about $15,000. I can't tell you why that is, you'd have to ask MERS. So you would think with their conservative investing, they wouldn't be losing money, but that's another issue. 72% is not a bad place to be. I would say most of the municipalities I work with are around 80. Most of them in the state are around 80%. And that's the goal that MERS has, is 80. So just to let you know, that's where you're at. That's all I have, but I'd be happy to answer any questions now or any time throughout the year.
Is there any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
More for Peter then, I think. It shows whatever, $70,000, something like that, increase in revenue due to property valuation increases. Maybe I should look harder. How has that run over the years? I mean, is that money, can that be counted on at some level or not?
Well, with here, the revenue has gone up because one, heavily doesn't affect us, and so if the tax value increases with new construction and whatever the state says the CPI is, that goes up every year. But we've also, with revenue, we've been steadily raising the millage by a tenth or 2/10 of a mill since about 2013. We're 2.2 this year, so I think back when I came around 13, we're 1.3 or 1.4, so we've kind of been bumping it up with more staff and upgrading, I guess, to the 21st century here in the last 6-7 years.
I don't quite understand, because I don't have it in front of me, but it says due to increases in property valuations.
Right. It's kind of two things, the increase of property valuations and we've increased the millage. So there's two of them that is driving our increased revenues.
It'd be nice to know how that broke out, if only for future.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it every,
If there's a,
we can do it the last few years, what we do is after all 3 units get done with their board review here in March, we'll go in and I call the assessors, and they'll give me what their new taxable value is. And that's been increasing. I think like last year, if we wouldn't have increased the millage, that was going up probably like 70 grand, if I recall right. I mean, the township has really increased with new construction, so has Douglas, where Saugatuck's kind of, there's no more basically raw land left in the city of Saugatuck. The Presbyterian camp was the end of it, so that's the two parts of the increase in the revenues. So those are the two major factors driving, is new construction and the increase in the actual millage rate.
and the combination of the two actually produced revenue greater, I would say significantly greater than the cost increase, which, raw numbers was 40 something, right? 49, something like that.
$49,000
in increase in expenditures or whatever for the district.
for the district, yes, but then there's $100,000 that we put into the fund balance too. I don't know, that cost is not in, is that in there with the?
Dan, I can tell that you read what we call the MD&A. There's a $68,000 increase in tax revenue this year, which is the primary reason for the $100,000 increase in costs. Costs stay pretty much the same, whereas I think this year it was taxable value that increased, because I don't know that the millage rate increased for this year, maybe for the next year.
Not for 19, but for 20 we did, yeah, so it might have been at 2, so yeah.
It's a minor point, but it'd be helpful to have those, if not necessarily broken out, but at least addressed when it's primarily due to valuation versus primarily due to millage increase. Because it
Yeah, I can go back.
affects the way you think about that. The other thing, which is not really for anybody other than, I guess, it's in but as they show the long-term expected rates of returns on the various funds on one of your pages?
Yes.
On page 18? And maybe I'm a conservative investor, but those look pretty hefty for conservatively invested funds. And which kind of makes me wonder a little bit. And then when you combine that with they lost $15,000 this year, you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe the strategy is wrong. Something's wrong.
Well,
Something's out of whack.
I think they've reduced that 8%, it's going now to what, 7.25? Because they're ratcheting it down.
That's a great point. Those numbers come directly from MERS. But Peter is right that their discount rate is going to go down. It was 7.75. I don't know if it's 7.35 or 7.25. They're reducing it this year. The effect of that will be to increase your liability. So they are expecting a reduction in investment returns.
And it's all driven on the bottom market. And I guess the other thing, you know, it says we're here back with MERS, where the loss, it's a snapshot, and the day was, a year ago, on December 31st, the market tanked the month of December of 18. And that's what they take the snapshot on. Well, December 31st is basically their day when they do all their actuarial, so probably a year from now,
It'll be up.
it'll be way up, because the market was way up there on December 31 of 19. So. And you can see it wasn't that long ago, whether we were at 90% funded, now we're down to 72. So.
Right.
So should we change something to bump that up past 72?
Or are we already?
Well, I don't, you know, I guess it'd be nice to be at 100, but it's kind of like this mortgage, you never get paid off. So I don't know, besides throwing more money at it, you know, and I tried that in the city of Saugatuck, and it's like one of these things we
You never catch up.
We never seem to get caught. At some point you will, because there's the ultimate catch up is people die off. So that's the ultimate, you know. There's no way to. I mean, it's kind of like this house payment. You think you got it down, and then it rears its head.
But at what point does it become, like, where's the limit where it says, well, that's too low?
Where it's too low, we need to throw extra money at it.
If we're at 72% now.
I mean, we can throw them, that's the board's decision, we have the actual cash. We're making the net, and actually, we were making more, because MERS was about 5 years ago, where they wanted everybody to be fully funded, and they come up with this formula, they said, you need to pay at least this, but you can opt into paying extra, and I opted in to paying the extra payment, so we would fast track being paid off, and I don't know, if you look at these numbers, it's like we're not
working.
It's not working, but we can pay more money to it if we choose to. That becomes a priority of the board. But for right now, we are making the payments that I guess their actuaries say that we need to make sure that there's enough money there.
Didn't you reference a range that their guide from them, 80% average?
They say 80% is what you have to have before you can change your benefits. That's one thing. But that's an excellent question. Should we put more in? Probably 10 years ago, an actuary would tell you if you're 50% funded, you're in pretty good shape because you have 30 years to pay off this liability. Now with all of the focus on unfunded liabilities, everybody wants it to be more funded, fully funded. There's a new law from 2018 where the legislature said that you have to be 60%, there's two criteria. 60% funding is kind of their limit. If you're under that, but you also have to have a significant portion of your revenues, so you can be under 60% funded. But that's kind of the general rule, that you want to stay above 60.
So 72 is
Okay.
okay.
I would say it's okay, and like Peter said, the revenues are going to go up. You're going to make some money next year. The discount rate's going to go down, so that's going to increase the liability, probably balance out next year. I personally, well, that's all up to you, and I think that each of the municipalities represented here probably have a different focus on that. Douglas is 100% funded, but I'm not sure I would put my money there to make sure you're 100% funded right now.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Once again, very good job.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Do you have a request for payment, please?
I'll make a motion. Make the payments $104,330.30.
I'll support.
A motion by Phelps and support by Beckman. Is there any discussion?
What was just one question, what was the interurban flood tour charge?
So we were requested by the Emergency Management Office to host a disaster assessment with some officials. And I was going to take them around the engine with 6 seats, and it grew to beyond that. So to have one platform to listen, we needed a bigger vehicle. So at the last minute, we had a couple hours' notice to accommodate this group. It was suggested by Jane, why don't you reach out to the Interurban, because otherwise you had to stop, get out, try to get together, and it was pretty cold that day, and then go from there. So we had senators, people from South Haven.
Senators could have walked.
When was
We're being
it?
recorded.
When was this? About a month ago.
Yeah.
No, let's see.
And it was just something that, Rep. Mary Whiteford was invited, but she had a severe ankle situation, so she sent somebody in her place. But there were a number of people, and there was a supervisor, I think, from South Haven, and a number of us were going through from Grasscup area down as far as South Haven. We rented the bus for an hour and a half max, and we went almost 2.5 hours. So it was a very reasonable investment, and it was convenient in that we were all in one bus, you know, and we could hear one another and comment on the history. We were asked to do this a second time, and at that time we reached out, we had more notice. Allegan County provided a van, so.
We're trying to get cost recovery on the $48.
Tell me again what the fence, live fence, fire, I forgot what that was.
The fence around the live fire, the fire.
Oh, is
fire
that,
house.
it's just,
Yeah, the insurance company really recommended security, so no one would get in that building. And to the point where they said, please secure the windows. Well, there can't be locks on the windows. So we C-clamped them all. And we're required right before we ignite, the safety officer has to go through, make sure nobody went in through one of the other doors and is in there and we start a fire. So the fence provides a great margin of security, and as you may be aware, we wrote a grant for that, and we're awarded a grant for 50% of that.
okay.
And that we'd like to roll back in. We just to give you another part of history of the fence, it was installed incorrectly. We had a survey, we demanded a survey for it, imagine that. And they removed the stakes, and they dug where the surveyor markers were in the ground, so all that was out of orientation. So we said, how do we know the fence is within the property line? The only way we could do that is we made them pay for another $1,100 survey. Fence was a foot over the property line, and it zigzagged over the western property line. We had not yet got to the point to complain to Fence Consultants, who was the contractor, and the supervisor came out, fired the crew. We did not do that, they did, and said, we'll take care of this. Well, yeah, we've heard that before, and they did. We held the whole bill, they pulled everything out, they wanted to hire a less expensive surveyor to do it. We said, sorry, this is our surveyor, Fleece and Vandenbrink. They said, okay, it was double. Took care of everything, put it back where it went. So that was about 6 years off of our life on that.
Yeah.
Plus, it was quite comical.
It wasn't real, you couldn't have done that good a job, huh?
I mean, they took a concrete marker that has been there before any of us were born, just took it and threw it off on the side of the property. So we were devastated.
So that's all done now, or complete? with
Yes,
the
ma'am,
fence?
that is done, to
Okay.
answer your question.
All right.
Little history gone, but.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
Foley.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Pay the bills. Moving on. A financial report. Peter, you're on.
Okay, so, expenses and revenues, property taxes are starting to flow in the last month, 6 weeks, so we've collected about 46% of our projected budget for this fiscal year, and we've spent just shy of 41%. And you can see the new column, what we were a year ago, and we're kind of below the expense side, and we're above the revenue side as we were a year ago. I don't know, there's a, let's see, we got one line item about about a third way up from the bottom, that's just dues and subscription. We'll need to do a budget adjustment here in the next meeting, the next month or so. I don't know if anybody have any particular, I haven't done the December payroll yet, I just got it today, so we're working on it, so. The fire calls, the medical calls, and the training, special events, that's only through the November, so that's only, hopefully, are we at 50%? So something like the medical, there's the medical, yeah, so, you know, medical is up a little bit, it's over 50, so, but once I get the payroll done, we can see where we're at on the calls, but we're probably writing a little bit higher than what was budgeted on the fire calls and the medical calls for the year. I don't know, does anybody have any particular line item question, or, I know the medical supplies are over budget, we had to, I think Greg was explaining, he had to purchase some new.
Yeah, we had to replace our measuring devices for temperature. What we had wasn't compliant. The medical control has imposed a lot of hardship cases on us, some expensive items. We had to replace some pulse oximeters that did not have the ability to measure oxygen levels in children. Those, usually they're $500, so we had to get into some expensive equipment that now is required. Where we say unfunded mandates.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Peter. Nice job. Spending money. Moving on, fire chief comments. Incident reports, calls to date, overlapping calls.
Okay, if we can maybe return to the screen, I will, we have year-end reports. There's some things that are important to share with the board. I think you want to know about it. I will try to skip things that really don't seem to be that important at this time of the year. So as you know, we finished up the year with 977 calls, by far a record. I think we're up almost 8% on calls for the year. Pretty significant. For Saugatuck Fire in Allegan County, we are the highest responding agency, even though we have areas with larger populations than we do. All right, Eric, we'll go through. We know December 2019 was a record year. Okay, go next. So here we are. What's important for you to refer to your respective municipalities? We're up almost 8% on calls, about 70 calls. That's what's significant. Okay, next please. Incidents per day of the week. Friday and Saturday still hold true as the most demanding of days. All right, next please. Time of the day, during the day. Next. So typical in-person reporting, which is required by the state of Michigan, this has to be current. We can't apply for any grants if we aren't current on any of this reporting. It's a very diversified and excellent itinerary or inventory of call volume. 300 series is where your medical is, 53%. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay, next up please. December of 2019, this just shows specifically that month where we were at. A important note for the board members, 75 motor vehicle incidents. This is a record year. So up about 17%. That's something you'll see that has climbed up over the years and most likely will continue to climb. Okay, we're good with that one, Eric. Please, the next one, MBI's by the month. You know, pretty much you're looking in August, September, July. Special events, one of the things that I'm happy to report to the board, we all had kind of a concerted effort, let's try to reduce some of these special events. I think you'll see that we have made an effort to reach some of those reductions, reduce staffing, reduce the participation, without alienating the public is a fine line.
Have we ever come up with, we talked about, charging for events for profit? Have we ever came up with a?
We have a policy,
Policy.
we have a policy, and we have, the problem we run into is, they're nonprofits, just exclusively who call us up, they're fundraising, you know, and there isn't, the one we had was a race, a foot race that was for profit, and we charged them. There was another one through SCA that we charged them for that.
But it's at basically your discretion, so.
Yes, what I use, if it's nonprofit, then I shy away from that and try to find out, have the duty crew take care of it, because they're on a stipend pay basis, and try to minimize bringing in additional. We also reduced it from an 8-person to a 3 to 5-person. Okay, moving on, please.
It comes up on the next chart.
Yeah, and you'll see the hours.
That's terrific.
And again, I think the board, and with all our support, Greg, can we try to get this down, and I think you'll see we have. Overlapping calls is something significant for you to report to your jurisdictions. 258 calls were back-to-back, a distinct increase from 2018. All right, next please. And this is the geography versus incident call volume. Nothing out there stands out to me. It's pretty typical. You can see I-196, you know, 43 calls. Outside the area, 60 calls for mutual aid. Okay, moving on, please. And this just shows the numbers.
Elliott, to Grass Cutters responded, going for the text.
Numbers in relationship to budgets and incidents and things like that. So Grace of Douglas has climbed up as far as more demands responding to a healthcare facility. And we hear this echoed around the area. Everyone's calls are going up. I think Grasco's up to almost 750 calls.
Oh, Grasco?
Grasco.
Oh. So why are we up at Grace of Douglas?
Just increase priority 1s and 2s.
Are they
We don't go to
budgeting-
3s.
No, are they budgeting the 1s and 2s, or?
There's no doubt they're fudging the 2s. John?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think that's what was my first thought.
And that becomes an allegation, and that's not something
Something you can't.
I'm not ready for.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, there's embellishment.
At some point, isn't that a cost recovery issue?
It seems to me like it should be.
Yeah.
I mean...
That's
they
the only
don't-
way you'll slow things down.
Yeah, I mean, we aren't the personnel for the Grace of Douglas, and I think we need to look at this.
I think having the conversation with the person who runs that place first, before we start sending bills.
Right. Well, I think so
And just
too,
let
but-
them know that, hey, these are starting to be fudged, and we can't do this for everyone. Or write a letter.
A letter, I
Yeah,
would.
do a letter.
Yeah,
What
writing
kind
that
of
way.
incidents do we do over there? What happens?
One of the problems we're facing is, by policy, they are required to call the fire department. Many times, most of the time, Grace of Douglas calls AMR direct. AMR is not allowed to respond on 1s and 2s priorities without the fire department. We've been through that already, because they might be 40 minutes. Meanwhile, that patient that's in need, if we don't go, that's happened.
Okay, this is to get these patients, they're having a
Heart attack.
sudden, yeah.
Well,
It's not to,
prioritization.
doctor's appointment or something like that.
Well, the other thing is, we can't just blame Grace of Douglas, because our Allegan dispatchers rate those priorities. So based on the information they're giving, for example, I gotta watch how I say it. You want a priority one, just tell somebody you're having difficulty breathing. See where I'm going? So they tell people what they need to hear to make it happen.
Okay, so somebody has a difficulty breathing, and you have to rush them to the hospital. What's the difference than the person at home? Their own private thing has difficulty breathing, they have to be rushed to the hospital.
Right.
Isn't it the same kind of thing, or?
It is, the difference may be the person at home really is having trouble breathing, whereas the person at the other facility maybe isn't having trouble breathing. How about this?
How does
A fire
it rate
department
for
that's dispatched to
Pardon?
take a, how about a fire department that's dispatched to take a splinter out of a heel?
Wait, what?
Take a splinter out of a heel.
Take a wood splinter out of a
No,
heel
no.
of someone's foot.
No, no. Well, I suppose you find that out in the public, that, no. no.
Over the radio, broadcast over the radio.
Under, out of a heel, that's what I thought you were saying, I thought I must be hearing wrong.
That's abuse of public safety.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't our department.
But yeah, that definitely,
Right.
unless you're getting some 90-year-old lady.
And there are a lot of departments surrounding us that are all running in priority threes of the call. The difference is, they aren't running 977 calls a year. We are. They're running 300, or in Grassley with 700 calls. So that's the challenges with healthcare facilities, when they have a higher level of people in that facility, as far as nurses, licensed nurses and things, where we don't have that. Or they have a doctor there probably 5 days a week.
They do.
So it's a problem with the industry. So getting back to, so the recommendation is, direction is to write a letter. Maybe I can get together and draft that letter and show it to Jane and send it to Grace Douglas with a follow-up, go to them and say, listen, we think this is, we're becoming concerned that we're not being allocated to the correct
And
cost.
and copy Allegan Dispatch.
And
Well,
our-
I think
all
you have
these-
to have incidents too, specific incidents, and it sounds, I don't know what happened, but it sounds like we have them.
Are all these,
It also has to be partly a function of a healthcare facility that has their own eyes on liability, and if they make that call, that gives them a, you know,
Yeah.
we made the call,
Mhm.
and it falls here.
are all,
So there's gotta be some level of this letter or whatever pushback that says, hey,
Well, does this mean we need to go back to the medical control board like we did the last time? and-
Well, I think the way, I think Eric's correct. The first thing to do is talk to the operators.
yeah, I think.
I would rather talk to them before sending a letter,
I think so too.
and then follow up with a letter for our discussion and just say, you know, we're becoming, our board is becoming concerned about excessive demands or unwarranted demands.
Are all these calls that they're taking people to the hospital, or just like an on-site call and they're fine?
I would say, without looking at data, I would say that just about, most of them are transport. Because again, somebody said liability, that the healthcare facility doesn't want the liability and they're not paying for it. They
Like if
just,
somebody falls,
yeah.
they aren't gonna take the liability, they'll call.
And
They
it
have
used to be,
transported.
before you came on board, the reason the board changed all this is because they changed their policy that any resident that fell
Yeah, I remember you mentioned.
had to be picked up by the fire department instead of their people at night. And then we stopped all that.
Yeah, we were augmenting their personnel.
I mean,
So-
sometimes they can fall and break their hip, then they'd have to call.
Mhm.
Just ask me.
Right. Broken hips a priority 3. We wouldn't even go to that.
It
Yeah.
is? So when I fell and broke my hip, if I called you, you wouldn't have come and taken me?
If you would've said you had trouble breathing, he would've been there in a heartbeat.
If you said this was Taru, we would have been there.
Oh,
or just call Eric directly, he'll come.
Because I fell on Sunday and didn't go to the doctor till Monday.
Well, I think we still have to remember we are here to serve and protect the public, so to
Yeah.
keep that with.
It's
There's
a
fine, yeah.
There's a fine line there.
It's a trade-off
It really
there,
is.
yeah.
I think with board approval, I'd like the opportunity to talk to them first.
I think
so
that's a bit-
They don't think we're
right
slamming them with a letter.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
In that chat, however,
Yes.
at some point, I would at least
And maybe you
broach
might
the
wanna take,
notion
might wanna
of
take one of the
cost
board members
recovery.
with you.
Because I think that's, that's,
What is it, 7 calls, that's not a lot, but.
It's a lot more than it used to be.
But it's creeping up.
well, these
Yeah.
guys are saying, 7 calls, but questionable
It's
calls.
creeping, yeah.
And just one last comment. They go through administrators like people go through
Mhm.
flypaper.
That's what I thought. Who's
It-
administrator right now?
I don't know who that person even looks like. We don't know, we just don't know.
Well, that's part of the issue.
There's a rotation of staff retainment, there's an issue.
Yeah, I met him, but I don't remember what his name is.
I don't know.
I was in-
Okay, we'll discuss letter reference specific incidents, and we will mention the cost recovery. I'll get on that.
Yeah, if they want us on their staff.
Okay, to move forward? So response times, self-explanatory, ended up the year at 5:40, just
5 is good.
couldn't be happier with that whole thing. Okay, next, the responses, this just shows priority 1s and 2s, the volume, priority 1s and 2s. Next up, AMR's response times were overdue to get their quarterly report. I tried to get it in time for the board meeting, to no avail. So when we have it, we'll show that. AMR on priority 1s and 2s, this just shows call volume through September. We're good with that. Next, mutual aid, self-explanatory. Next up, we don't have to look at that. Next, property value protected, you can see that anytime you want, specific locations. Next, edit, fireboat incidents, 9 for the year. Next. Okay.
Good information.
Then we do have some ones we'll get into in the community risk reduction. State of Michigan, we had 7 more deaths, so we ended up the year with 102 fatal fires from 95. As far as community risk reduction, Eric will pull that up on the screen. We wanted to share with the board a simple report that shows the amount of alarms inspected. Simple report, so 75 smoke alarms, 30 interconnected, those are the line voltage type, 31 seal alarms, 24 homes. Rental inspections, 163, and sizes, total of 287,000 square feet of rental home inspections. Plan reviews, 267 hours. Plan reviews and on-site inspections, 64 different projects. And address signs at 22. This is kind of this is where the Plan Review Bureau of Fire Prevention is at on this. All right, next we have, as you know, the dreaded PFAS as far as foam, toxic foam, it's been in the paper quite a bit. We had 110 gallons of unknown ingredients. That was a collage of chemicals from Allegan County given to us. That, and we had 3 5-gallon partially filled containers with product. State of Michigan has a program to pick that up free of charge, and they have. We were worried we had to pay for that.
Are they replacing it with something else, or just, not doing that?
Just make it disappear. They have a program, they hire a company to do it. Because we were worried we were going to have to pay for that. I wanted to share that with you since it's been very popular in the paper.
Sure would be.
As you know, this was a problem when I became chief. We were behind on CPR, AED certifications, EMS licenses. I can assure you everything is current. Last item, grant applications. Chris Mannels and I, Chris Bernhardy, have been very diligent at applying for grants. We worked on 3 of them as recently as this weekend. Apparatus chevrons, was just kind of reflective material on the back of the truck. Reimbursement for inspector class, and also a rewrite of a grant for the live fire training facility. I also had to resubmit a grant to Entergy Corp. for reconsideration. And I also helped run another grant. I helped co-write a grant with Grasshook Fire for live fire training facility. That concludes my comments.
So there's still possible upsides on the live fire funding?
Yeah. The MMRMA grant, I followed our reps' guidance on writing it up for extending the life of the facility, and the board that reviews it said that's more maintenance for us, so they rejected the grant. So I had to rewrite the whole direction of the grant, get more support letters. It was a lengthy process. And that has to be submitted by Friday. It's ready right now. Probably be some tomorrow morning. The Entergy grant has been, it's been probably 4 months on that. It's a very difficult process.
When you put these in this outline, maybe it'd be good to say, you know, submitted, waiting for answer, because I go back and look at this and say, okay, you did that, what's the status on that? Or if we receive one, you usually let us know, which is great.
Because, as you know, we don't get them all. But
No.
Sure, I can add that on.
Or even if we were denied,
Yeah.
it's good to know.
Yep, know where we're at with it.
I can tell you personally, I was devastated about the grant that I spent, you don't even know what I spent that time on.
Tough.
Okay, add submitted date, okay.
Don't want to add work to you, but.
And
No.
status of the grant.
Yeah, great status would be great.
Okay, moving on, unfinished business, fire board and fire board and fire code board of appeals member pay raise.
Well, I did a little investigating. Saugatuck pays 35, Douglas pays 50, the interurban pays 50, township pays 75. 75. I think
Saugatuck pays 50.
Oh, they do?
That was
When I
increased.
called over there, I was told 35.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Saugatuck pays 50, I stand corrected. So I think, we mentioned that last time, 50 is kind of the norm.
It's been at, what, 30 for,
25.
since I've been here,
Yeah.
and that's over 10 years.
Yeah, we cleared $26 a meeting. Well,
Can't even buy a case of beer for that anymore.
understand.
Not the good stuff.
Get a case of M's.
Careful.
Yeah.
We're ready to
So-
entertain a motion to increase that?
Well, let's take these one at a time. The fire board members,
Aren't they
they
the
raise the
same?
fire board. No, they're not.
Oh. Didn't know
And
that.
I guess the bottom line is, probably should have done this before we did our budget for the coming year and budgeted for it, but what are we looking at as far as increase? It's $20 each,
A
a
month.
meeting, and
$20 a month.
and half the time, or not half the time, but a lot of times we're missing, and we usually have leftover funds in the board salary anyway, so it probably wouldn't hurt us to do it.
So the fire board gets, you get whatever you said you get.
30.
You get 35?
We get
And
30.
30.
And the fire code board, what do they get?
Well, we haven't discussed that yet. They don't
We
get
get-
anything right now.
Oh, they don't
Don't
get
we
any?
get anything? Well, we're gonna jack that up to a couple grand.
We should.
Because we know who's gonna appeal.
Smile for the camera.
Because we know who's gonna appeal all the time. so. And there's only 3 of us at the meeting.
Okay, so first of all, let's do the fire board. Do I have a motion from somebody?
I'll make a motion to increase the fire board pay to $50.
Second?
Second.
Great, I have a motion from Phelps and second by Fox. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's a roll call.
Okay. Phelps,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Okay, I went around backwards, didn't I? I'm pulling. Poland.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Yeah,
Aldridge,
sure.
Yes.
sorry.
And roll call, because it was money.
Okay,
You came at the right time to room.
Yeah.
Not that we should use that. I feel fine about making a raise for ourselves.
It is, but for what it's worth,
They all do it.
you're overdue for this.
Yeah, so it's been $30 forever.
Forever.
All right, moving on to the Board of Appeals.
They don't get anything now, right now.
No, I don't believe so.
It's only 3 of us on there, Jane, myself, and Aaron.
And
I never
that
knew
meeting,
what-
You probably don't meet very often, do you?
No,
It's rare.
Yeah, I think
we
it's
met
rare.
twice
So,
a year or so.
I would make a motion to give the Board of Appeals $50 a meeting.
Just to keep it the
That's
same.
not gonna hurt a budget since they rarely meet.
And didn't we increase the, I can't remember.
There's a $400 fee.
There's a fee, so some of that's
Yeah.
So cover, yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
for people coming to the board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the least it should be.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I agree, that's the least it should
You
be.
know, yeah.
That's where someone else is paying for it.
Mm.
Yeah, we actually do spend a lot of time going over everything under the sun,
I
so.
can imagine, yeah.
And again, they're paying $400 fee, and, you know, most of our stuff is on the payroll of us, so we're paid to do it. You guys, you 3 are taking the brunt of some complex, intensive, time-consuming material.
Maybe they
If
should
you
get more.
increase the fee, to add the $50 or whatever, you need to increase the fee.
We talked
I mean,
about
since
that
there's still
as
fuel.
well, because there is a
What-
lot of fire department time that gets spent, on these appeals, so maybe we should increase our fee
That-
as well.
That's something, wouldn't that be done as a Board of Appeals? Increase our fee, or would that be done, well, we're under jurisdiction by the board,
Yeah.
so it would be by the board.
Right.
You're right.
I think $400 is not enough. I would think it should be more like 1,000.
This is what I was
Well,
thinking.
that's a different issue
Yeah.
than
Well,
paying.
Okay. so
Yeah,
what
but
is
with
it?
that being said, if we're gonna charge that much more, there's a lot more involved with
Than
the Board of
$50.
Appeals than there is
With the
Oh,
fire.
the fire department.
Yeah.
We get the packet on Friday, you read through it over the weekend,
Right,
you
I-
make your notes, you come Monday, you're here for an hour and a half and you're gone.
So you're thinking maybe we should do more than $50?
In my opinion, there's a heck of a lot more work involved with the appeals.
Mhm. All the way around.
Has it only been North Shores recently, or have they all
Mhm.
been?
What do people appeal at the fire department?
Oh.
So,
Oh, I know, never mind, I already answered my, never mind, I already know. Thank you. Sorry, I know what I was
Maybe we
thinking.
should put the, for public notice reasons and what have you, put the consideration of the higher fee
Right,
on next month's
yeah,
agenda
Yeah.
and handle the,
right, because we'll have to
Stipend
change the schedule of fees and all that
Mhm.
stuff, so let's do that next time. But right now, we really do have to consider how much the
Yeah.
Board of Appeals should make.
Irrespective of the fee, whether it's $400 or $1,000, this is a much more demanding position that, to me, warrants, you know, a higher pay compensation. And I know you're not here doing it for the money. Still, there's a respect and a regard for your time that I think should not be dismissed.
in my opinion, the last one we did to do it right, you know, I met with a couple other developers on my own time, made some phone calls. It wasn't just, here's the information, what do you think? Shoot a cannon at it. It was, you have to do research. I mean, because the Board of Appeals, you know, we're a little swayed because we're with the fire department, we literally are part of the fire department, and now you have someone bringing a grievance or a disagreement against the fire department. We can't just sit here and say, well, I've been on the board 10 years, I'm gonna go with the fire department. We gotta do our due diligence and look into, like I said, I called a couple developers and, you know, so there is a little bit more involved with just saying, rubber stamp it no or yes
Yeah, I-
and move on.
Well, it was
Zoning Board of
interesting that
Appeals
we
in
all
Douglas,
did
and-
different research
Yeah.
too. I went out and researched the site and how big the water lines were and how big the casement, I learned a lot of stuff. And then Aaron went a whole different direction, so it's not like we don't spend a lot of time on this.
Right. I sit on the zoning board of appeals in Douglas, and you gotta do your homework,
Yes.
you know, and of course, we.
Do it right.
We
You-
get
you-
I
we
would
get
also
paid the
say-
same, but,
I'd also say if we increase that stipend, that also sets the stage nicely for discussing
So
the
let's,
overall fee increase next time.
let's table that.
The
Or
fee.
The fee,
Yeah.
the fee and what we get.
I so we deal
as
with
well.
it maybe right
You wanna
now.
deal with them both together, or?
No, I would do, I
I'd
think
do
you could do with the fee, or the stipend now,
All right.
based on what you guys have said. It seems
Okay,
reasonable,
the fee,
$100 seems reasonable to me, the amount of time you're spending, so.
Did we have a motion on the $50?
You did.
Yes,
And I second it.
So I would have to
Do we
change my
wanna
motion,
pass
or?
that one first? The
We
fire
did-
board?
did we vote
Well, we
on
did
You have
that.
not yet, so she could probably still change it and he
Okay.
can
I can
second
adjust
it. I
my
think.
She can rescind it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
start over.
Well, you didn't make the motion.
Yeah, she did.
I did.
Oh, I thought
Because I
you-
seconded it.
Was that for the that's for the fire board?
No,
That's-
that was for
Fire
the-
board pay.
No, I didn't
for
make the fire
for-
board one,
for
because I knew I
the
wanted to make
appeals,
it.
and it was
I'm
the
so
same.
confused.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
She made a motion to pay the Board of Appeals the same amount.
If you could amend that now to,
Amend that.
if you want.
Okay, if you want to discuss the fees, so,
We'll do that next month.
We'll do that next.
okay,
We'll
you
just-
make them two different things. All right, what, I made the motion for $50. Maybe we could do that, and then we do the fees, we can come back to it later.
Okay, wait a minute. So we did vote on the fire board of appeals, or the
No.
fire board?
Fire board, you voted on
All right.
$50 per meeting, that
Okay,
one's
now
done.
I need a motion for the
Yeah.
fire board of appeals.
I did that, and you seconded
For,
the fire board appeals for
But
$50.
you want to amend that?
do you want to amend it to
You're deciding
100?
Well, I want to hear discussion, what do you think?
Well, that's what we've been
Well,
discussing.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I would not support that, because I don't think it's enough.
Is
In
100
my-
enough?
In my opinion.
100 would be.
100's not enough?
Well, yeah, it,
100 even
amend-
might be
I'll
enough.
amend my motion to pay the fire board of appeals board $100 per meeting.
I will second that.
All right.
You.
So I have a motion by
I
Pullen
think
and a
that,
second
I
by
mean,
Phelps.
it's not a money grab,
Yeah,
it's
right,
just.
yeah.
What's the matter
To
with
pay
that?
could you read the motion back?
Absolutely. Motion by Pullen, second by Phelps, to begin paying the Fire Code Board of Appeals members $100 per meeting.
All right.
Can I suggest maybe per hearing? Because the last time we met in December for about 30 minutes,
Right,
just to schedule
right.
the hearing. And I don't necessarily think we need to be paid $100 just to meet to schedule a hearing.
But,
Could we change it to per hearing instead of per meeting?
okay, but
they
this
aren't always
hearing
hearings.
might go into 2 or 3 meetings.
Yeah.
So, does that mean $100 a meeting during the hearing, or for the whole hearing? I'm just wondering what you're thinking.
So your board of appeals might meet more than once? I'm going by my ZBAs, we meet once, maybe sometimes twice, but, and we get paid for each meeting we go to.
I have a feeling we'll meet more than once on this.
Your hearings are usually more than one.
No, not always. Well, no, there are 2 meetings, because we hear it and then we come back and we give a decision
Oh, really?
later, yeah.
Oh, you don't make a decision that night?
No, because we get a lot of material that night.
I see.
So it'll be
Okay.
each time you meet, or?
Well, again, it's rare, you don't have it that often. It's not like we're busting the budget.
Yeah, but this isn't even part of the budget, it'd be part of the fees.
Yeah.
So we leave
And
it
then
at
the
per
fees
meeting
would-
then. Per hearing meeting. That way, if you're a little pre-meeting, that's on your own, that's the way it goes. Per hearing meeting.
We can't do that. We
Why?
have to, it's gotta be, if us three meet, it's an official
Meeting.
public
Well,
meeting.
yeah, I didn't mean that the way that came out. So do you always have a pre-meeting for your hearing meeting?
You have to meet within 10 days of the appeal. And at that meeting, you decide who the chair of this particular hearing is and when the hearing will be.
Oh, you don't
Those
have
two
a chair,
things.
a common chair, chair all the time? The same person is the chair?
For the year, but
Yeah, for
we've
the
only
year,
met
you're right.
once per year so far.
Right.
So each, okay, that, I understand that, okay.
So
Um,
we have to meet to set the hearing date, and we have to meet within 10 days of the appeal.
And here's my
Why do you have
opinion
to
on
set the hearing date?
the meeting
That's
to
the law.
meet to set the hearing date. You are busy. I travel a lot. I know Jane lives here, so she's a little bit more, but when they say you have to get together within 10 days, that puts a little strain on my work schedule.
Okay, why can't you have, like, maybe the chief said, or,
No, that's all outlined in the Board of Appeals regulations, that the committee must meet
oh,
within
but
10.
in the board,
10 days.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay, okay.
I have a suggestion to entertain maybe, what if you did it $50 per hour per meeting? Because then on those short meetings, it would be $50, and then in the likely longer meeting for the hearing, it would probably end up being $100. And would that be a potential better solution?
Or-
Unless it could drag out to,
Yeah.
3 hours.
Or
which-
what about designate $50 per pre-meeting?
The hearing.
No,
For pre-hearing.
No,
I like Chris's idea with a minimum of 1 hour. I mean,
Yeah, that's what
if we get together and it's only 20 minutes,
And a minimum of 2 hours for the, not more than 2 hours. You can't be paid for more than 2 hours or less than 1.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Good luck, Larry, might want to do a motion.
Well, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it for the money, trust me, because
Yeah, we know.
there's other things we could be
were
doing.
broke.
Really?
It is,
Well, I think it's a matter of respect, too. Okay, what if I amend my motion to say, make a motion to approve paying Board of Appeals $100
No.
per hour, not to exceed 2 hours and no less than 1 hour.
50.
You said 100, you guys,
$100.
50.
it should be 50.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No?
Oh.
Chris said $100 an hour and it would be 50 for a half an hour, didn't he?
I said 50 per hour, so on the longer meeting, you'd end up with $100.
Yeah.
Right, yes, that's.
Oh,
it.
50, okay, $50.
Um,
Let's see, that won't work out either.
Let me see if this sounds okay, and then you can.
With a minimum of 100, no, that wouldn't
Let
work
Chris
out.
read it,
Let
let
Chris
Chris
read it.
read it.
This was what I, motion by Pullen, second by Phelps, to begin paying the Fire Code Board of Appeals members $50 per hour per meeting, with a 1 hour minimum and a 2 hour maximum. Does that cover what you
Yeah,
were talking
that
about?
does.
Okay, so if your hearing's only an hour, you're only getting $50 then?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, all right, okay, is that, all right.
Does that sound like your motion?
Yeah, yeah, sounds like what I was trying to say anyway.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Did you second that one too?
Sure.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Pullen,
Yes?
Phelps,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yeah.
Beckman,
yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes. Wow.
We got through that one.
That was $50 in a Board of Appeals meeting.
Well, we get Eric and ours case of beer. Well overdue.
I'm gonna switch to vodka now.
And we know where life goes. Okay, so, new business, funding approval request for thermal imaging camera.
So, we have a good capital improvement plan that includes replacement of thermal imagers. As you know, it's one of the key pieces of equipment used when we get on scene. This one happens to be the one in my truck. Typically, I'm the first one on scene. I'm required to get out of the vehicle, use a thermal imager camera to do a 360 sight scene size up with that thermal imager to try to look for extension or somebody trapped in a building. So, pretty important piece of equipment, and this is just merely in the capital improvement plan, so requesting approval. And that thing works
I
pretty well,
think it's well needed, so I'll make a motion
like military.
to approve the funding for the thermal imaging camera. Met the amount not to exceed $7,799.
Second.
7,500.
I think I had it wrong in one spot, possibly.
Did you?
Yes, the agenda page was wrong, and it's actually only 7,500. She is correct, yeah. I'm sorry.
Mine says 7,799.
Yeah, that's on the agenda part, but on the
Yes.
actual.
Oh, okay. I'll amend that to not to exceed 7,500.
Perfect.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote, or is there any discussion?
Did someone second that? I'm sorry.
Dan.
Okay,
Dan Fox.
thank you.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we have a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Bullen?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yeah.
Beckman?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yeah.
Phelps?
Yes.
And Miller?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, a new business schedule changes for full-time staff.
Really excited to share this with the board. Here's the deal. My primary focus is to reduce the amount of hours my full-time staff has been obligated to. Every full-timer is doing 150 to 160 hours every 5 weeks, 75, 80 hours each week, and I need to end that. Sometimes in the case of John Miles, Mike Betts, all the full-time, they'll be here 14, 15, 16 days in a row. So that's the number one goal I want to achieve with the change of the schedule. So, effective February 1st, we'll have 3 full-time staff members go to 24-hour shifts. There are disadvantages and advantages. We already have, 3, sometimes 4 nights a week, we're staffed around the clock now. So it provides a good anchor, 24 hours a day for that shift. It eliminates having these guys here all that time. So that's the primary reason for doing this. We save some money by eliminating the stipends, but they're also going to be working, if they agree to do 24-hour shifts, they're on an entirely different policy schedule as far as when they go into overtime and when they go into, when they come back for fires, they're at a different rate. So we achieved, number one, getting a reduction in hours for our full-time staff. It does not disrupt paid on call. The duty crews are still intact, which was a big concern of mine. Disadvantages, we lose the presence of a fire clerk at the front office. So that person might be out on the floor, there's going to be truck checks and pre-plans out in the field. However, I will work with the duty crews to make sure that that presence is still maintained as much as possible. I have one day where it's kind of light, and that's Monday, the day I work. So that staffing level will look for a person to sign up. For example, we'll say, Eric, we need you to work 2 Mondays in the month of February. We signed you up for it. So that's how we'll fill those voids. Nothing's perfect. We've been working on this for quite some time. And what I like is you've got a good person here all the time to manage, to respond, to provide guidance. And number one, it just removes all that being here. Like Chris Manos has to be here Tuesday night, Mike Betts is Thursday, John is Monday night, Kyle is Thursday night. You eliminate all this having to have the same person do 40 hours plus 1 night, and then every 5th weekend. Not even counting meetings, training. So I want to keep it simple on how this is going to come about. I've already got some policies about it. We looked into a lot of different variations and looked into how do we manage this, just going to 40 hours and then people come back at overtime. So there was a lot of budget constraints that we kept in mind on this. And 24-hour does provide a lot of advantages, more so than disadvantages. So we will try it for 3 months. then we will evaluate it after 3 months and see what deficiencies we have and share it with the board, what we didn't do well, what we did well.
Have you spoken to the employees involved?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. And they approached us and said, if you had your choice, you know, what would it be? The reasons vary. Primarily, it started with Mike, who came to me with all sincerity, and said, Chief, I've been here 150 hours, I don't want to be here this morning. And that's what hit me. You can blame Mike. He's right. He is right. John's right, Kyle's right, Chris is right. I drove him too hard. And I'm the one who said, if you're going to be an officer in this department, you're going to take on a night. You're signing up for a reason. You're going to take that up. Unfortunately, there's labor laws. And they have an impact on full-time people. They do not on paid on call. It doesn't diminish the fact that Linus is probably doing 60 hours, 70 hours a week on his own business, and then he has to pick up Sunday. Right? It doesn't take into account for the paid on call people.
Well,
But the labor law doesn't affect.
That's a good idea. You can do a 3-month trial period. And then, you know, everybody get together and say, oh, this is what works and this isn't what works, or no, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's working better, you know, whatever. But I think that's a great idea to do that. I like hearing that.
What I want to watch is reports, and we've got a backup. Eric oversees that whole umbrella of reporting to make sure that's timely, because that was a problem in the years past. So that we have oversight on. I want to make sure we don't lose that walk-in ability. I want to make sure the phone's answered. I don't like public safety that's picking up an answering machine. And Aaron and Eric and John can all attest to that. If John isn't here, like we made John take off today. He was in school all weekend. He was on duty all last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I'm sorry. We made him take off, so then we bring in somebody else to answer the phone while we're busy with other things. So, we've learned to manage the whole utility aspect, because that was something that really wasn't presented from my understanding when they went to 24 hours. You know, well, we have to maintain the temperature because we've got police coming in and out of here 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, 12:30 in the morning, all times of the day. We know when to set back that thermostat to accommodate for things. So, you know, I'm very excited about the prospect of, number one, reducing the hours for my staffing and supporting the day shifts. There's no breakup of shifts. They still have that authority. Say if Mike Betts is on Sunday night, Linus is still in charge. It doesn't mean Mike Betts takes over. And that was what we had earlier on in 2012 and 2013 when they went to 24 hours. It really had an impact on the paid and call, and it alienated the paid on call. And this does not do that.
Good. We're going to try and let us know.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the Lucy Water Street boat dock update.
You're on the committee and you were at the last meeting, maybe you two could share?
Well, the committee met twice over the last 2 weeks, I believe it was. There was a presentation by Rental Broke Rentals, and there was also a presentation by the fire department. Fire department gave a very good presentation. The outcome of the whole thing was last Thursday we met again. The city officially gave the business at 730 Water Street 15 feet of the street end next to their business, and they gave the fire department 18 feet of that street end. They gave, and then the second thing they did was give their approval for an L-shaped dock that comes out just the way the dock does now with an L at the end. And that was approved by the city. That design was approved so the fire department can now move forward with, making all the applications to Eagle and fighting through that process. So I think it was a win for both people that were involved. Both people involved may not think it was a win, but I think it was a win, and it was a win for the city, so.
Is 730 Water Street, is that the vote?
Yes.
And that still
Yeah.
has to be approved by the council.
Yes, that, yeah, I should have said that. That was just through the committee. The committee met in open meetings, the 2 times they met, to hear both sides of the issue. They gave the other part of the commit, or the other entity gave several designs that they wanted. The fire department gave what they wanted. The fire department tried to move a little. It didn't work at all. So that's where we are today. Is that how you heard it, Steve?
Yes, and that L shape, was that the original dock that we looked at way back, I don't know,
That's the
June?
one that the fire board approved in June,
Yeah,
and that Dan volunteered to present to the city.
right, and
That's the one.
it just took that long to.
Well, there was.
Making more space, though, is
There was
the
lots of
compromise,
things that
so.
happened in-
I felt the fire department's presentation was very good, like the laser pointer versus the green piece of tape. It was.
The little green book.
The little green one, yeah, you know, if you were there, you know.
So anyway.
Are we happy with it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
happy.
L, how long is the L?
40 feet.
Okay, so but the city gave you 18 feet to use, what's that gonna do with this?
18 feet on the side, yeah.
No.
The L is, parallel with the current, parallel with the center line of the river. So it goes out and takes a right.
Takes it right, yeah.
To
So I
the
was just
north.
wondering, if they're giving you 18 feet on the shore.
The 18 feet is here, Scott.
Yeah, it's on shore.
It's next to the.
Oh,
it's
and that's
next-
on the east side of the dock.
Yes. Retro is here, they have 15 feet, the fire department has 18
That 18
feet
feet
here.
there.
And then they have 33 feet altogether to put in their dock.
Basically allows 730 Water Street to operate
Yeah.
legally 15 feet to the north. Within that area.
You get, so from that 15 feet to the dock, you have
Oh, yeah,
18
okay.
feet. And then the L's gonna go out, so that,
That
actually,
L will head north.
L will
towards that
head north,
Michigan.
that's not gonna interfere with anything at that end.
Oh, no.
There was a question, what was brought to the committee was a Eagle rule that requires 1.5 times the length of the dock. So our dock was 40 feet, required 60 feet clearance between the dock and the neighboring property to get in and get out. I read the rules, and the rules applied to marinas. I challenged the rule. Eagle agreed we are not a marina. It is not applicable. It goes without saying we can't operate in their riparian area or be a navigational hazard. We have been within our riparian rights
All along.
for 20 years. So we've been in there. That's established, and that riparian boundary line is by Corey Hughes, has now been acknowledged and accepted by the attorneys. And that's, if we had to go to court, that's what you're gonna use.
Goes straight
Tony
down
was
the property
perfect.
line.
Correct. So that was kind of, well, which riparian line are you gonna use, Felicia Vandenbrink or Corey Hughes? And the lawyer said, Felicia Vandenbrink was a property survey, shows the property lines. So we had to get that clarified. And then finally they said, this is what we would take to a court of law. So then we worked off the riparian boundary lines.
It was I would say it was a Solomon-like decision, where everyone should have been very pleased. I mean, if you'd have said to the property owner 7 months ago, we'll give you 15 more, he'd have been, back then, I think he would have been giddy. That he's not giddy now is, just is what it is, but I mean, it literally was like Solomon with the baby and all the rest of that, it's like,
There it is.
both sides gave,
It's workable.
and it's workable, and it suits from our perspective, it suits the fire district's best interest for sure, which I think is primary. So, everybody should be thrilled.
And it was a unanimous decision, so that was good.
Yeah,
So how
from our-
long do you foresee this happening? Not this summer, or would you think?
We have a
you
project
have-
deadline of April 15th, and we're already, if the dock company isn't notified, it's gonna be a very tough timeline. Because if Eagle considers it major construction, it could be 120 days for the permit process.
Mhm.
And that's gonna put us into a timeline where we, how do we get the dock built? They want approval on the dock by, first week in February, which we can't do, because we don't have Eagle approval. So because we're public safety, there's some things that, not that we're anything special, however, it is public safety infrastructure, and Eagle acknowledged that they will try to fast-track the application if at all possible. There may have to be a public hearing because of the adjacent properties. And then the building of dock would be fast-tracked request because it's public safety dock. That's why we tried to get this going some time ago, because of all the time it takes. I don't want to be moving a dock and a boat in July. No offense to the city, they dealt with a shopper's dock in July, and because they had no choice.
That wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
I
So,
got two questions.
Yep.
When you refer to Eagle, is that the
DEQ.
DEQ now it's called?
DEQ now is Eagle, and they're the ones who ruled,
Yep.
they're the ones who ruled that 1.5 times is not applicable. I took that to the committee, and that was the end of that.
Okay, the other question I have is how much does this cost us in legal fees? Just out of curiosity.
I'm guessing probably this last round, maybe 1,000. You've got probably 5,000 or 6,000 in legal fees, and with the retro boats.
Can we get a cost recovery because it's the city's property?
Wait,
Just wondering, just wondering.
Let me get up before you ask that, okay? No,
Don't poke the bear.
Take the win
Yeah.
and move on.
If it's a-
we were very happy with the committee's recommendation.
I did
And it was
everything I
unanimous.
could do.
There were a lot of specific questions. None of this would have happened without Chris Mantle's handiwork on the design, the layout, presentation was impeccable. I merely presented it.
And I
But
think
we showed
I think
every-
this is what we wanted a long time ago.
Long time ago.
We did the
Yeah.
depths, we showed different layouts, they wanted the
Unfortunate.
dock swung to the north, we showed that wouldn't work. We try to appease everyone, and we're at a point now where we can't do anymore.
Are the Johnsons happy with this, or is there any
Who?
lawsuits coming?
No, Billy Johnson will be fine.
Okay.
He supported us in writing way back.
Good.
All right, moving on. Personnel discussion,
It's about me.
I know. I don't think this will take a great deal of time, so the rest of you want to adjourn yourselves downstairs.
Make a motion to go into.
Yeah, we will, but Aaron will be down shortly for a picture.
Can you call it back up for the open session vote if there is one, and then the minutes for that too? And then come
I'll
down and
call
do
you
the
back.
next one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Perfect.
I need a motion to go into closed session about personnel issues.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session about personnel issues.
I'll second.
Or he's gonna make the motion.
No. Who made the motion to leave closed session?
I did.
He did, and I seconded it, to open it.
Okay.
So now we're back in open session.
Now, we are now back in open session.
I would make a motion that, based on careful consideration by the board and based on the performance evaluation earlier this year, that the chief's annual salary be adjusted effective July 31st, July 1st?
July
Retroactive.
Retroactively to July 1st,
Right.
2019.
2019, to $80,000 a year, and that within 6 months, we will again review salary as well as
Performance.
salary and performance, and additionally analyze the competitive market for fire chiefs in the area, and look at all that data and reassess where we are, as I say, within 6 months.
Okay, do we want to do 6 months, or do we want to do it sooner than that, because your fiscal year starts July
Yeah, the
1st?
fiscal years.
And we should be looking at
Within 6
before the
months.
fiscal year.
Within 6 months.
Yeah, within,
Covers
because
whenever.
Within 6 months.
Covers
And
it.
6 months, okay, okay.
I'll second that.
Could you read that back to us, please,
Yes.
Chris?
Hold on.
Good, because I can't.
You're back in second, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, motion by Fox, second by Beckman, that based on careful consideration by the board and based on the performance evaluation, that Chief Janik's salary be increased to $80,000 per year, retroactive to July 1st of 2019. Additionally, it will be reviewed within 6 months to analyze data of similar positions in West Michigan.
Within 6 months, yeah, okay.
Didn't I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be reviewed within 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is a roll call vote?
Okay. Fox?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
Pullen?
Yes.
And Miller?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I guess we are adjourning to downstairs to,
I should do the public comment downstairs.
yeah. So, we'll rearrange this a bit. Is there any public comment? Peanut gallery back there, no. Fire board comment?
I got one. Oh,
No, go ahead.
Eric, or you usually were on there. I got one just because somebody said earlier when you go back to your jurisdictions or whatever, and it's always challenging because there's so much goes on here and what you can give. But the one thing that stood out to me on this audit is that the cost to operate this department year over year went up less than 1%. At the same time, calls for service went up over 8%. That's a hell of a value, and
Yeah,
the
it is.
jurisdictions need
It
to
is.
hear that they're getting a hell of a value.
A shopping value, is it?
Huh?
Shopping value, yes.
It is a shocking value, and, you know, that kind of gap, try and find that anyplace else, where that, particularly in the public sphere, where that exists. So, looking for something to pass along to the jurisdiction, and compliments to, obviously, to the chief and the department for doing that. Also, I would say, passing out bouquets to Peter for
Keeping their age straight.
Peter for the financial operation that met with that kind of an audit. That's no small achievement either.
Right.
That's been going on a lot of years.
Yes, it has. I know it has.
And they have done a great
They've always
job.
been.
And we use a different auditor in the city, and Peter gets the same accolades there, so, yeah, he's good at what he
Well, I think what you, Dan, just said is good ammunition moving forward and having a plan to maybe increase the millage again. I know, but we can't just
It's
keep
something,
on.
it's something, it's just a
Even
fact,
if
it's gotta be
it's a
done.
little teeny bit, it's something. You know, he's gonna need more people one of these days, and
Yeah, more full-time.
we better be ready.
Okay, any more council?
I'm just glad to see the audit, you know, after, you know, being involved in for 35 years. I thought that was very good, and, you know, I commend the department and Peter and everybody for making it so easy for the auditor to do. That makes a big, big difference, let me tell you, huge difference. And from what they've said, when everything's available right there, and I think that's great.
Aaron? All right, we will adjourn to downstairs to have our pictures taken, and then you